Hey everybody, Brian Tro coming to you from Mossy Creek Fly Fishing with your fly fishing forecast. The date today is Tuesday, the 21st of June. So things are finally starting to get a little low, finally starting to get a little dry. I've been kind of telling everybody this is going to happen. We've had good fortune this spring. We've had really good rains, and that's kept everything up and moving and flowing, and even a little bit too much rain every now and then that kind of wrecked the fisheries for a few days, but nothing major. So we've had really good water. There's probably more coming this week, probably more coming tomorrow on Wednesday as another front passes, but things have definitely gotten a little dry. You get 90 degrees here and you go 4, 5, 6 days with no rain. We had a lot of high winds. That just kind of saps the moisture and dries things out. So for the week ahead, unless we get a whole lot of rain in the next day or two, for those of you who are going up brook trout fishing, it's time to start switching gears a little bit and getting stealthier. Don't wear bright colors. Don't have a high profile on the side of the creek. Get low. Use the natural terrain to your advantage. If you're fishing in the Blue Ridge where there's a lot of boulders and trees down and stuff like that, you can use those to hide behind to get a little bit closer. As far as your tackle goes, you're going to need to start fishing a little bit lighter terminal tackle. So instead of throwing a big old stimulator on 5X, you need to size down to 6X. We've got these great supple flex leaders from Rio. They're very soft, they turn over gently, they're very invisible in the water. Things like that can really give you an advantage. So some folks will still fish their 9-foot 5X leader, but they'll add a foot or two of 6X tippets. Now you're fishing a 10 or an 11-foot leader. As long as your fly is the right size, that'll work just fine. And speaking of fly size, there's still plenty of bugs around. There's a lot of food. Rather than matching the size of the food that's hatching, a lot of times I will pick a size of fly based on water flows. Okay, so for example, you get on a brook trout stream, there's no wave trains, there's no ripples, there's no waterfalls. It's just glassy and smooth and 2 feet deep. And the sun's coming in, they're spooky. You're gonna wanna size down everything. Size down your leader and then size down your fly, all right? So instead of throwing a big old number 12 yellow stimulator, you maybe size down and fish a size 16 headlight Sally or a little yellow Sloan or something tiny. That won't spin that 6X leader, won't hit the water hard, etc. So still catching tons on dry flies, pick your battles, overcast days, help provide a little cover. Drizzly days are really good, but you're going to want to size everything down. On the Spring Creek side, not a whole lot's changed. If we haven't had rain for a while, the water clarity is clear on creeks like Mossy Creek. But Spring Creek water levels don't ebb and flow nearly as much as our mountain streams do up high. Okay, they are very dependent on regular rain, and the Spring Creeks are fed by major rivers and streams and all the groundwater that kind of comes down the valley. So they will fall throughout the summer if we get droughty, but they'll fall very slowly, and they'll be like kind of on a delay. They'll be behind these freestone streams. So good news on the Spring Creeks is the fishing is really quite good. The fish are eating Tricos pretty much every morning. We've lost a lot of our bigger bugs in the evening, so the morning feed is definitely better than it was. You know, there's a lot to getting out there early in the morning for that early low light. Obviously, it's a lot cooler on you as well. And trying to stay and fish through the Trico spinner fall, which has been happening around like 10:30 or so. Starting to see terrestrials. They'll eat a beetle. We've caught fish on beetles for the last month. You may say, well, there's not a whole lot of beetles out yet. Well, tell that to the fish. They don't really care. They're happy to eat them. So beetles, ants, crickets, hoppers, PMX as an attractor, PMX peacock as your dry fly, and then, you know, on a short leash, like maybe a foot, foot and a half, a small Baetis nymph or something underneath. That's a really great way to prospect the Spring Creeks right now. If you find that the channels and the grass and the moss are a little tight for you for stripping streamers and things like that. So that's kind of the name of the game there. Hit your low light in the morning, hit it in the evening, take a break in the middle of the day, head up to a brook trout stream, put on your camo, you know, and get a little bit sneaky. It's a lot of fun to get up there. And then for those of you who just have a hard time with delicate presentation, or you find yourself scaring a lot of fish, find the right type of water on the brook trout stream. Everywhere there's a wave train or a food funnel, wherever water becomes more nervous, it refracts light, it throws light, it makes it harder for them to see out, okay? Just ask yourself, can I see in to the bottom? If the answer is no, they're gonna have a harder time seeing out. Rapids create noise, okay, and distraction, which allows you to get closer and closer to your target. So if you're getting beat up on those big glides, we call them, those big slow pools, walk 100 yards and find some whitewater and find some wave trains, and you'll find active fish again. You know, fish that feed where the water's fast aren't as discriminating. They just don't have time to stare at the fly, and they have to just react. So that's a good tip, a couple tips for the brook trout fishermen and the spring creek fishermen. For the bass fishermen, it's been awesome. The river's dropped quite a bit. The Shenandoah and the James, just in the last 5 or 6 days, we're down actually slightly below average for the first time in months. I like fishing slightly below average. It helps concentrate fish and push them together. There's still a little bit of stain in the water from recent storms, but that's good. So you've got like a smaller river to fish, which is starting to stack fish and push them together. The next ingredient, the really key ingredient that we need, is we need the stargrass to grow. You can see it starting to grow in certain places and patches, but once that stuff grows up and it gets lush, all of the bait that the fish can just eat at will right now, they're going to tuck into that stargrass. And once they do, your fly is going to become way more appealing. The damsel hatches have already starting to get pretty lush. Haven't heard any dog-day cicadas yet, but I imagine in the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll start hearing them. And the topwater bite has been pretty good. So if we don't get a lot of rain, you'll see those rivers, they're falling quickly from the last rains, but then if you look at the graphs, they'll start to kind of level out and drop at a very slow and steady pace. They hit what we call base flow, all right, where they've caught up to groundwater levels and they won't drop quite as much. So get out on the Shenandoah. Water temps went up quite a bit this past week because of the sun being able to get down to the bottom of the rivers and having 90 degrees several days in a row really helped the water temps bump. Smallmouth bass metabolism goes up with temperatures. Other fish like largemouth start to get really lazy with warmer temperatures. So you'll find you catch those largemouth earlier in the morning when the temperatures aren't so hot. Anyway, that's about it for now. You got to get out there and enjoy it. It's really awesome. The fishing's great. Like I said, things are lower, but they're not desperately low and they're not impossible. So keep getting out in those mountains and fishing and enjoy the water while it's here. And hopefully we'll just continue to get some thunderstorms every couple days to give us that boost that we need and keep the fishing good. All right, if y'all have questions on where to go or what to use, or you need any gear, give us a call, email us, or even better, stop by the shop and say hi. I'll see you next week.